Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Johnny Clumpy. I am joined by
Devon Alsman.
and our very special guest, Taylor McGregor, the marquee sideline reporter and also a sideline reporter for ESPN. Devon and I are both blessed to have this opportunity to have Taylor McGregor join us for an interview today. We'd just like to get right into it. And Devon, you have the first question.
I was just wondering, Ms. McGregor, how did you get into the industry of broadcasting?
I got into the industry because I fell in love with sports at a really early age. My dad worked in baseball, and so I tell everybody that I learned the sport seemingly through osmosis, and I knew I wanted to be around it in some capacity. And when I was in high school, I just started paying attention and realized there was an avenue when it came to the television side, and kind of thought my personality with my love, that would be a great intersection, and that's sort of how it began for me.
Following up with that, you started off with the Rockies. How was that environment starting off with the Major League team, and what experiences do you have starting off with your career?
It was such a great environment for me to learn and grow. The people there were amazing. I grew up in Denver. I grew up around the organization. And so, I just felt very fortunate to be around people who I knew cared about me as people, or as a person, I should say. Because I think sometimes in this business you get lost a little bit in the product. But I never questioned how those people felt about me. And that was a really special thing to be a part of. I really am so grateful for my time there. They invested so much into me, and I would not be where I am today without them.
How was the idea was brought up for the Marquee Sports Network bringing you on during the 2020 season? How was that interaction going from the Rockies to the Cubs?
It was exciting. I had always loved the city of Chicago, admired the Cubs fan base from afar, and so getting the opportunity to come on board was tough at first because Denver is my home. But I'm so glad I made the jump, and it's been so much fun working at Marquee with so many talented people covering a franchise like the Cubs. It really has been just amazing. So very grateful that they gave me the opportunity.
And now with the current day Cubs, how fun is it to be able to experience with, especially the Cubs outfield has a lot of energy. It seems that 2 of the 3 guys will be starting in the All-Star game. All 3 have possibilities to win Gold Gloves. How just exciting is this whole team as a whole?
Yeah, I think the thing as fans you really notice is elite speed and elite defense. And obviously they have that in their center fielder and Pete Crow Armstrong. And so it's a privilege watching him every single day. And then you have 2 guys to his right and left, and Kyle Tucker and Ian Happ, who've also won Gold Gloves. And so watching great defense has been really enjoyable. And then not only have those guys been able to produce in the field, but obviously they've produced at the plate as well. So it's been a really fun season. The amount of runs that the Cubs have scored, again, offense is fun to watch as well. So that's been enjoyable.
Yeah, it's really cool to see how this Cubs team is formulated, and it's really awesome that you've been able to cover a lot of it, especially like the interactions between Seiya Suzuki and Pete Crow Armstrong and their little brothership that they've kind of formed this year in all of their interviews where they're always talking about each other. They're all homering on the same day usually. But you don't only cover baseball, you cover other sports, and one of those sports is college football. My question that I wanted to ask is, how cool is it getting to, on a weekly basis, experience these gigantic stadiums and these ruckus environments that college football brings to the sports world?
Yeah, I got into this industry to do college football. I'll be honest about that. And I wanted to cover the SEC, which has been amazing that I've had the opportunity to do that at ESPN. And, I would say the SEC, as far as environments, is up there in the country. It's no secret. So getting to experience those different atmospheres week in and week out is truly a dream come true. And I've said this before, there's no greater feeling I've ever had professionally than, when those guys run out of the tunnel on a Saturday and it's go time and the crowd is electric. It's amazing. And I could go on and on about the different ones in the sport, in the conference. They're all unique in their own way, but I think the energy is what makes college football so electric. And I'm very, very thankful that I get to be a part of it.
All right, so out of all of those great environments, which one would you consider to be your favorite, especially from the SEC or maybe another conference?
So Gosh, I don't know if I have a favorite. I really don't. I think there have been games that I have experienced that I can look back and say that game was, at the top of my list. I think this past season I did the LSU Florida game, which was 3:30 ABC, and it was electric in the swamp. They have a young, exciting quarterback in DJ Lagway, and he really showed up despite having a hamstring injury, and it was just, the crowd was insane. They do Tom Petty going into the fourth quarter, and like that environment gives me chills thinking about it. So that was super fun. Any chance you get to go to Neyland Stadium is incredible. I had them against Mississippi State this year at night, and I remember standing on the sideline just thinking, how lucky am I that I get to do this? Alabama is electric. Like, you can just go down the list. I covered Kalen DeBoer's first game at Alabama, and that was special as well. So I think they're all unique. I went to Arkansas, so anytime I get to do a game of the Hogs in any way is really special to me. So I really don't know if I have one of my favorites. I just think the games that I've covered probably stand out at certain places.
So with your favorite games, you, like we were talking about earlier, you also covered baseball, but you work at one of the most loved MLB stadiums in Wrigley Field, and you've got to experience some very exciting moments at Wrigley Field. We wanted to ask, how does a great college football environment compare to a White Sox versus Cubs game at Wrigley Field, or a Saturday Cardinals versus Cubs at Wrigley Field? How do those environments compare?
I would just say they're different, right? Because there's 162 baseball games, and there's only 14 weeks in a college football season. So it's just totally different. The stakes are so much different. And obviously the stadiums are usually bigger. I mean, you have 110,000 in Ann Arbor at the Big House, and Wrigley Field holds about 40. So it's just different. I think there's cool parts about the game of baseball that make it really special to cover. You can see something different every single time you go to the ballpark, even though there's 162 games. And that's really exciting and really fun. Obviously, the big walk-off. The 1:20 Friday games at Wrigley are so special and unique in their own way. So it's hard to really compare them because it's like apples to oranges. But I would say in baseball, Wrigley's as good as it gets. And so I do not take that for granted that I get the chance to cover the Cubs at Wrigley Field every day, because I just know that environment is special, and it's at the top of the list of places that anybody should want to take in a baseball game. So I feel grateful for that.
Well, Devin and I both love Wrigley Field. I've got to experience a couple college football games, but not at any huge SEC environment. So you get to experience all of these great environments on a weekly basis, but you have to travel to a lot of these places. It's really, I'd imagine it's hard having to leave your home every week, and then even for baseball, it could be weeks at a time covering a West Coast road trip for the Cubs. So I want to ask, how's your home life, especially with all of the traveling that you have to do to cover both of these sports that you cover?
I would say that is a challenge. I won't lie. I have a desire to get married and have kids one day, and it's hard to just invest in that portion of my life. I was on the road over 200 days last year. So that's one of the things I don't think is talked about enough when you're getting into the industry, and especially for me, because I cover baseball, which is 162 games, and then I go straight into college football, and I do other things as well. So I probably am as dramatic as it gets when it comes to time on the road. But yeah, I don't want to overlook that, especially for aspiring broadcasters. It can be hard, and it's certainly, there are sacrifices that have to be made to do this profession. But obviously, I've chosen to still pursue it because I love it. So there's a trade-off for sure. But it's challenging, it's hard, but it's a good kind of hard and a good problem to have.
Yeah, that's just a question I've always wanted. Devin and I both want to go into this, in the broadcasting world. I really want to be a commentator, so I really wanted to get somebody who's in the business point of view on the that side of things in the business. Devin?
I'm stats. I love looking at the sports stats, baseball, football. Your day-to-day setup and preparation, how is that, looking at stats and transactions around the league or specifically the Cubs? How do you do that from day to day?
I think a lot of just trying to stay on top of what's happening around the league, what's happening with your team. So I'm always reading. I'm always trying to take in information, trying to learn the way that the game is constantly changing. So I think that's what's really enjoyable about baseball. I love the analytics side because I think you can just really dive into information and really know what's going on. So it's actually been one of my favorite parts about covering the sport is I really feel like challenged by that. So day to day, it's just a lot of reading. It's funny, I literally just looked down at my phone and I just got our stat pack for the day. So I'll go over some of the stats that I was sent today and then prepare to go to the ballpark. And that's kind of the day to day.
And then it happens that we are talking to you on a Tuesday today. Last week, you and Boog were talking on air about how 3 of the 4 Cubs walk-offs this year have come on Tuesdays and how at the end of the game there's graphics being thrown up about Tuesdays. How did that come around off air kind of? Was anything talked about that, or during commercial breaks was there anything there?
Yeah, I think it was just kind of a joke. Somebody threw that out there like, oh, we better win on Tuesdays. And if you know anything about our show, we're very into what is a repeatable skill. And winning on a Tuesday is not a repeatable skill. If you are good, you will gather wins. And that's just the way it's going to go over the course of time. But so I think that was more of a joke than anything. But that's what's funny about the sport and the fact that there is so much information out there is you can look anything up and you can kind of tell any story with any of the numbers that you find. So that was really just sort of fun that we were having and probably making fun of the fact that you can look up the Cubs record on a Tuesday. That does not mean it means anything. It just means that they've lost on Tuesdays, and that's what that is. So, we certainly like to have fun with stuff like that.
Well, hopefully they win today on Tuesday against the Cardinals, but you're coming up, you have a broadcaster seminar for college students and stuff. What exactly are you going to be doing throughout that day, and what are you going to be showing these college students?
Yeah, I'm so excited about it. I kind of started because I have so many different college students to reach out and, want to know about what I do. And then I partnered it with Lou Gehrig Day to raise money for ALS. And so that's sort of how it started. And I'm really excited. We're going to go about 2 hours of a seminar and just hear from different decision makers, kind of go through some of the things that I do every single day, and then I'll show them around Wrigley, the places that I go. So the clubhouse, the press box, the Marquee Sports Network studios, and just show them kind of a day in the life of me. So really excited about it. I'm hopeful it's something that I can just continue to build upon and we can do moving forward, and hopefully they enjoy it.
And with you wanting to build upon it, where do you want to take your career? What would be your dream position in sports if it's a certain job with a certain team or a certain job with a certain company? What would be your optimal job in the sporting world?
I kind of tell everybody I just want to cover the biggest events. So I want to keep growing in college football and, hopefully do more and more premier assignments. And then I think it would be really cool, too, to maybe one day move to the NFL and cover a Super Bowl, be on the sideline for a Super Bowl would be a dream come true. So I just really want to cover the biggest events. College football, baseball, and then football are kind of my main sports right now, but doing the Women's College World Series this year was awesome. And if I can just continually grow and build, that would be amazing.
Well, that's really cool. And Devon, I wish you the best of luck to get to the NFL and keep improving your career, get to these premier assignments. But I think that's all the questions Devon and I have today. We can't thank you enough for coming on and allowing us to interview. This is a really cool experience for both Devon and I, and we both can't thank you enough, Mr. McGregor.
Absolutely. It was so fun to be on with you guys. Good luck with everything, and thanks for the time.
So I'm Jonny Clumpy. I was joined by
Devon Alsman
and Taylor McGregor, and that was all for us today. Until next time.